Background music, slow, dramatic piano rising into orchestral tones. Narrator, voiceover. In a world where politics often feels like a battlefield of egos, interruptions, and endless noise, a single moment of humility can silence an entire studio. What happened when Senator Patty Murray, known for her decades of service and calm authority, paused to validate the sharp, powerful words of Representative Jasmine Crockett? It wasn't just a soundbite, it wasn't just another political debate. It was a moment of respect so raw, so unexpected that the studio itself fell into silence. Tonight, we take you inside the exchange that left millions stunned, humbled, and reminded of what leadership truly looks like. Scene 1. The panel begins. Visual, studio lights brighten. A round table is set with Patty Murray, Jasmine Crockett, a host, and 2 other lawmakers. Cameras flash. The audience claps slightly. Host: good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most pressing issues facing our democracy: truth, accountability, and the responsibility of leaders to speak honestly. With us, Senator Patty Murray, Representative Jasmine Crockett, and our panel. Let's begin. Crockett, calm, but firm. Thank you. I think before we talk policy, we need to address something deeper. We live in a time where facts are twisted, where women in politics are mocked, and where standing for justice is treated like a liability instead of a necessity. And I won't be quiet about it. Audience murmurs in approval. Scene 2. Crockett's words cut through. Crockett, leaning forward, voice sharpening. Every day, I see people try to silence women like me. They call us A too loud, A too emotional, or A too ambitious. But let's be clear, being passionate about justice isn't a flaw, it's a requirement. And when truth shakes the room, it should shake people into action, not into mockery. The camera zooms in on Crockett's face. The host tries to interject, but she continues, voice rising with conviction. Crockett, I didn't come to Congress to play polite games. I came here to fight for people who don't have a voice. And if that means being labeled as A too much, then I'll gladly carry that label, because silence has never saved a soul in this country. Audience bursts into applause. The panel shifts uncomfortably. Scene 3. The studio reacts. Cut to Patty Murray. She sits quietly, watching Crockett. Her face shows no rivalry, only thoughtfulness. Host, lightly chuckling, trying to break the tension. Well, Representative Crockett, you certainly don't hold back. Crockett, unflinching. No, I don't. Because history won't remember who stayed quiet, it remembers who dared to speak when the cost was high. The room grows quieter, the words linger. Scene 4. Patty Murray's silence. The camera pans to Patty Murray. She takes a breath. She does not rush. The silence builds anticipation. Even the host leans in. Murray, softly, humbly, I've been in this fight for decades. I've sat in rooms where women were told to smile more, speak less, and defer to men. I've seen voices like yours, so sharp, unapologetic, get dismissed as anger rather than passion. Audience listening closely. Murray looks directly at Crockett. Murray, nodding slowly, and I want to say this clearly, without hesitation. You are right. Every word you just said needed to be said, and it needed to be heard by this studio, by this country, and by history. The studio goes silent. No shuffling, no chatter, just stillness. Scene 5. The validation. Murray, leaning in, voice steady. Representative Crockett, your voice carries the urgency of a new generation, but it also carries the weight of those who came before us. Don't ever let anyone convince you that you're A too much. Because every inch of progress women have ever made in this country came from being too much for someone's comfort. Audience claps is slow at first, then stronger. Crockett exhales, visibly moved. Crockett, soft, breaking the intensity with sincerity. Thank you, Senator. That means more than you know. Scene 6. The studio falls silent. The applause dies down. A hush settles in. Even the cameras seem to pause. The host, for once, has no quip. The audience holds the silence with reverence. Narrator, voiceover, and in that silence, something extraordinary happened. Politics wasn't about sides or sound bites. It wasn't about outzouting or outspanning. It was about recognition, a seasoned leader validating a rising one. It was about respect. Scene 7. The reflection. Murray, turning to the audience, You know, when I was first elected, they called me just a mom in tennis shoes. They thought it was an insult, but I wore it like armor, because being underestimated only gave me more reason to stand tall. Tonight, I see that same strength in Representative Crockett, and it reminds me our fight is far from over. Audience stands, clapping. Crockett, smiling, voice softer now, and tonight reminds me that no matter how long we've been in this fight, we stand taller when we stand together. To Omina, 2 generations of leadership share a nod. The studio falls quiet once more, this time not from shock, but from respect. Scene 8, a closing narration. Narrator, voiceover, in an air defined by division. One humble acknowledgement cut through the noise. Patty Murray didn't seize the spotlight. She didn't compete. She listened and validated. And Jasmine Crockett, whose fire could have burned alone, instead stood illuminated by the quiet respect of her colleague. That night, the studio felt quiet, and not out of fear, not out of awkwardness, but out of reverence. Sometimes, the loudest moments in history are not shouted, they are whispered in humility, a broken bar and met with silence that speaks louder than applause.